This is my 1.6 HDI Peugeot Partner 2007, roughly about 109,000 miles, 2007. And what I notice is that my alternator is not working, it's not charging the battery. There are plenty of videos around how to see and test the alternator, but I use this cigarette lighter plug-in for my electricity and has a little small LCD that shows how much voltage does the car produce or the alternator produces. I was seeing that it was dropping to 12.6, 12.8, so it was not charging the battery. So I tested it and it's the alternator. So this is a video of how to replace the alternator in my 1.6 HDI engine. But first of all, before replacing the alternator, go in your car, roll down the driver's side window, close all the doors, open the bonnet of the car and wait like 15 minutes like that, leave it at that. Next, of course, undo the positive post of the battery. I've already done that, but I've put a cardboard thing here so it just doesn't intentionally just touch it and create a contact. Also, for good measure, I've put a plastic bag around the post just in case something happens and this touches the post. So the alternator is down there. You can barely see it actually. It's down here. I'm trying to point. It's down there underneath all these pipes and everything, so this needs to be removed. So the alternator is buried down there underneath all these pipes. The pump for the steering, all these, the turbo, and these needs to be removed, and the alternator is taken from underneath the car, but just, you know, to get a bit of access from the top to undo the belt and so on, these have to be removed, and in order to unplug the plug. Of course, in order to gain access from underneath, most cars will have some sort of under tray, and my car is no exception. It has a proper metal tray underneath because it's a kind of a special model. It has one bolt, three bolts from the front and two bolts at the back, so I need to remove that tray in order to get access to the alternator. And finally, I've undone the tray. It's old. It's quite a piece of metal, this, probably 2-3 kilos. Yeah, protects the sump, but a bit of a nightmare to take out. So first of all, one needs to remove that turbo pipe, then these two, in order to be able to put your hand in there. So first, these two rubber pipe from the intercooler. They have two Jubilee clips on there. That could be with a ratchet, with a socket, or with a screwdriver, either way. The Jubilee clips, I'll do it with socket 7mm. It's just easier than with screwdriver. Until it's kind of free, there is a gap there. So these two are free. That one here I can do a ratchet, but the other one is quite tight down there, so I have to do 7mm kind of ring spanner. Now, of course, should be pretty easy just to peel that one off, and it should take it out from both sides. Sometimes it's a bit difficult, you have to put your finger, but sometimes it's just easy to kind of peel off. Let's see, the bottom part is a bit more awkward down there, but that should be easy enough. There we go. Managed to take it off, and of course there is quite a bit of oil in there. Well, probably will start dripping. I don't want it to drip. Yeah, it's quite a bit of oil in the intercooler. Not too sure if you can see it, but down there is quite a bit of oil in the intercooler. And then the other one as well. Kind of peel off from one side and then try to take it from the other side, and it should come out. I've put a few of these rubber things on the not to cut the rubber, so this metal Jubilee clip not to cut the rubber. It's not too easy anyway. Finally took that one off. Yeah, I put these rubber pieces in here. Hopefully you can see it, rubber pieces in here, so it doesn't cut. So this Jubilee clip, when you tighten it, doesn't cut the rubber, so I don't need to buy this again. But it's also same thing, quite a bit of oil in there. It's quite a bit actually. Okay, so the intercooler, I might as well remove the intercooler because there will be a lot more space in there. Next is to remove the engine cover here. On mine, is simply lifting it from either side. I tend to remove it from down here. You just simply lift it. They are simply these tabs like that, 4 of them. They clip on this, so you just lift it. Next is to remove that pipe from the turbo. It's got one single bolt and it's a 10mm, and it's a bit awkward, so we have a bit of a swivel there to remove it. And simply this pipe, basically you lift it from that side and you pivot on the turbo, and it should just simply lift like that and you can take it out. There is a clip at the back, so you just pull it and then you rotate it, that's it, and then you just take it off here. There is it pivots on that kind of rubber o-ring here, and that's it. And on the turbo side I've got quite a bit of oil in there, so if I just wipe it slightly you kind of see the oil on there. Well, it's inevitable that the turbo will spew a bit of oil. It's just inevitable, but just wipe it kind of clean as much as one can to kind of wipe it. I always get asked, why does this guy put aluminium foil on the car? Well, simply because this is an opening to the turbo. I don't want dirt or something flying around, dropping something in there. And this is environmentally friendly. I can put it in my recycling. It will get recycled. So what I do, a bit of piece of aluminium foil over the turbo, so no dirt can come inside. Well, that's the reason why I'm putting those. I also removed the intercooler because it will be easier. I can put my hand in there and go to the alternator. You have a nut here. I broke the kind of the bolt, so I have a bit of other stuff. So basically undo the nut here. Mine is a bit difficult to undo. I have to use pliers or something. There we go. This should now rotate. And there is a washer. So the intercooler, it's a bit, I think you simply lift it like that. The rubber is this rubber in here that slots in there, and then you of course hold it and put it down to the floor. I mean, you could potentially take it up, but I'm not too sure. Last time I tried, it didn't work out. So you kind of have to put it to the floor. Just hold it and put it down there, but don't drop it. Don't drop it. The intercooler is down there, and I'll pull it out from underneath. Here we go. So that's the intercooler. There has been a bit of a bit of oil. It's quite wet around here. Yeah, but that's the intercooler. Just easier to remove it to make space so you can put your hand in there. Next thing is to remove the plug for the alternator. Is down there, but it's extremely tight, and camera is pretty big for that particular space. But like a small screwdriver, it's just a simple plug, and I can't see from the camera at all. But you push it from underneath and pull it out. There we go. The plug has come out. Well, kind of. There we go. The plug is out. Hopefully you can see it. So basically it has a pin that you pull and just lift it. Next is the positive that is down here that you need to undo exactly where I'm pointing. But it's pretty tight and I don't think you'll be able to see, so I can remove all of these kind of cables to one side. You have a swivel. Quite a whack, this thing. Be careful with that, the radiator pipe. It's inevitable that you lean on it, but try not really lean on it. You don't want to break that pipe, then you buy another one. And you can simply lift that positive post. I don't think you can see anything, but still. There we go, that's the positive. Is to one side. The positive post. It's like a metal, one big metal piece. That's the nut for it that you have to undo. Next, of course, is to remove the auxiliary belt. Where I'm pointing, you probably can't quite see it, but the way you can't quite see it, there is literally, even your hand can't slip in here. You can't really do anything from that side. So what you need to do is remove the wheel and remove the liner of the wheel, the plastic, so you can kind of get access to these pulleys that are attached to the alternator and remove them. So next thing, raise the car and remove the wheel and the liner. Then I've removed the wheel, it was here, and this is the plastic liner around the wheel, and you've got quite a few of these, which you just have something like this and you put it inside like that, and simply you undo it, remove it, and then I think one can just put it underneath and remove the whole plug. Quite a few of these everywhere around where you see them, just undo them and then removing the whole liner. Some are different, but they have the exact same kind of principle. You unclip them and remove it. It will be easier to remove to wind the belt down and remove the auxiliary belt from the car, so then you can kind of remove the alternator. So I've removed the liner, the plastic liner around the car, around the wheel, so you can see the sprocket there. So it's easy to get access to these pulleys and to remove the belt here. But there is a little bit of a problem here. First of all, this is the tension roller that you turn clockwise, and it's a 15mm socket. So you simply put in the pull it and this lifts. So not much of a problem. Of course, I don't think you can see it, but you have this hex pin and you put it in there in the hole. There is a little bit of hole. If you look at it, it's definitely visible. When you tension it, then put it in and it stops turning around. So that's not much of a problem. Then you can remove the auxiliary belt. The problem is that this pulley, not that much problematic, but the pulley above. Let me show you the alternator first. So this is my replacement Bosch alternator. So there is a bolt here. There is a bolt from that side as well. Let me turn it around. This at the bottom we have a bolt here and a bolt there, so 4 bolts. This bolt on the top is not too problematic. It's a bit of a tight space. That one from underneath also a bit tight, but not that problematic. You can kind of squeeze something in there. So these 2 bolts here and here. So one pulley, here you have a bolt. This is the engine here, so it screws down on this here, so it goes on both. There is no thread inside. Goes through here, and there is a pulley here on top, and there is also a pulley, a roller pulley. It's not a pulley, but it's a roller on here and on here. So that roller is that roller here, and that's not the problem. That's hex 8mm, so you can use something like that. That's a 3/8 ratchet, and you can put it inside and undo it. Not really a problem. And the upper one is that one that I'm pointing here, just below the pump, that one here. I mean, I'm not too sure you can see. I'll try to move the camera only slightly so you can kind of see it, but it's extremely tight space. You can put nothing. There is a metal bar here and bar underneath there. You can't see it. So there is literally, you cannot put anything. I have an extension bar that is 3/8, but that's way too thick to put in there. I have one 8mm 3/8 that is way too big. That's huge amount. I have a, which is probably about the same size, is even bigger. It's a 1/2 inch. So nothing can really fit in there. In order to undo that roller down there, you cannot really do that much. So what I can do is, I measured, it's about 1/2 centimeter, so I can cut that kind of to length and fit it on a 3/4 wrench or a ratchet and try to do it. If that doesn't work out, to cut it to about here, that size, so to be able to kind of fit in there. Otherwise I cannot really undo that in any way, shape or form. The other option is to get one of these thinner ones that you have. So first of all, I'll try to cut this to shape and see if that will work out. Now this one, it's extremely difficult to cut with my hacksaw. I've cut probably 0.5 millimeter or so. It's chrome vanadium, whatever alloy, and it's quite difficult to cut. I've bought kind of this particular two sets, all the description of the components and the video, 3/8, and what you get inside, yeah, it's quite, these are kind of short ones. Let me see, so that's the 8. The short ones, I already fit it on my wrench, and it seems to, because they're very short as compared to these normal ones, it's much shorter, so it should be able to fit in there. So let's see. My torque wrench, a short one, that should be kind of alright. Let's quickly see. Yeah, I mean, you probably can't quite see it there because I don't have light, but this fits perfectly in there and I should be able to undo it. There have been some reviews that when you do that, these snap. So, well, let's see if this is good enough quality and won't snap. In order to undo the belt, you need to turn this tensioner pulley clockwise, so you turn it that direction. I mean, it's very short arm, so I have a pipe that I'll put in here to turn it. And then when the holes align, I have put my little Allen key in there to show you. There we go, the Allen key in there. You put it, I'll try to two hands to see if I can do it on the camera. Here is my plastic pipe and I'll pull on that until the two holes align. And they are aligning, and that should be it. You see the belt now, you can pull it off. This is stopping the tension pulley going backwards, and you can undo the belt now from all the pulleys. And of course I can't really see anything from top, but now it's a good moment to inspect if there are any fraying of that belt, any cracks or anything, and you might as well replace it if it's anything. Next, of course, is to undo that pulley, this particular hex 8 with this Castleman, this short stubby one, and I'll try it first on that one, because if this is a poor quality and breaks around here, I have access here, I can kind of remove it. Let's see how this will go. Oh yeah, that actually turned out alright. Started to undo. This is kind of alright, it's not rounded. So next I can undo the top one as well. So in the top one, let's see if that will be alright. Yeah, that also worked alright, and it's pretty tight fitting there. That lasted fairly well, hasn't broken yet. So the two pulleys on the alternator here and here, so I've slackened these two bolts. Next thing is the two bolts down here and down there, and these are 60mm bolts. They're pretty tight. So first of all, the top bolt, and I can't fit in those, it's really tight and this swivels a bit, so I'll use just a 16mm socket there. There we go, it's not too bad actually. There we go, the top bolt is kind of undone. That's the top, and now the bottom. Now the bottom one is down here. Hopefully you can see it. Of course it will be awkward. Yeah, but that's kind of undid it quite well. Of course the shield here, it's kind of in the way, so I need to undo the pulleys and then those bolts and should be able to slide it out. So I've slackened all the pulleys, that one and the one above, and the two bolts on the sides. So taking that pulley out first. There we go, and try not to block the camera. That's the bottom one taken out, and the top pulley. And there we go. The alternator is kind of shifting a little bit. Next thing is the alternator. So simply you pull it and then hold it not to drop. I'll try not to shake the camera, but it's already kind of loose. And I'm trying to position myself. There we go. You just pull it out and then you should be able to swing it out. So this is my new alternator, and this is the pulley that I undid, and it goes on top like this, and the pulley was like that. Here there is a pillar, and so that's why I need this thinner bit to go in there and undo it. So what happened is I was undoing it, but because I'm unscrewing that one, that moved slightly out like that. My wrench moved out, get close to the pillar here, and I couldn't pull out at all the wrench here. So I had to turn it back in up to some level, take this out. This was like that slightly. And then with pliers undo this until I can pull out the whole thing. So this works perfectly well, but you have to be rather careful how you undo this pulley, because it will be quite a problem to take it out due to space. I mean, this is on my car. On your cars there might be enough space, but I have a pillar around here, so it's very difficult to put that one in, and you have a very limited range of motion there. So next thing is to compare the new alternator to my current one to see if they're the same. So the old alternator has quite a bit of oil, and new alternator, so what I'll compare, of course, that they're exactly the same number of ribs, exactly the same kind of position, and they both spin alright. And of course turn it around, also compare all these plugs if they are the same, kind of to see that they're both exactly the same in terms of plugs, exactly the same to here to there. So this is the old alternator, and these are the two bolts, 16mm bolts with an insert that it goes inside. This is conical and spread this metal, so that's how it makes contact. So not to forget the inserts. You have to transfer them to the new one, and that's the on top here. You screw it until it's kind of, that's about it, and you keep it screwing. That's how you slot it in the hole there. You don't screw it, otherwise there is not enough space. And this is like a, you can put it in, like use it as a guide as well. And the same with the bottom one. And this is how the new alternator should look like in general. So these are the inserts that you keep. These will be the pulleys here. This is the upper pulley that goes in that hole, and the bottom pulley that goes in that hole and screws onto here. And there is the bottom bolt with this thing that extends and makes a contact. That's cut in here, so it kind of expands and makes contact and stops it moving. What I also saw, this is the upper pulley. What I also saw, there is a, I kind of found it a bit, there is a bit of a cut in the pulley itself. Probably you can't quite see it on the camera. There was a cut, I found it, but decided to replace that pulley because when it was replaced, it wasn't replaced by me. Probably somebody dropped something on it, and it's cutting the belt. Because if you look at the original belt, it's already, there you go, there is already a kind of a cut here from that, probably from that when it was once there and just started and it got cut. I don't want to reuse that one, so I'm replacing the belt. And this is the original one, is 6PK1350, but that's a little bit tight. Nobody recommends that. For the 1.6 HDI, generally it's either 1352 or 1353, so slightly like a 2mm difference. So I bought this Continental. I'll fit a new belt. Inspected that one as well. 6 ribs, exactly the same size, only 2mm longer, but that's how it's supposed to be. The original one was not the design. So I also bought a new pulley from Ina, which doesn't have any cuts anywhere. And of course you have to make sure these are the same, and I know these are the same. All the description and the component and description of the video if you want to check them out, but I'll check all possible sizes to see if they're the same. And of course you have to check it like that they're touching and it's not slightly longer here and there, but that's kind of okay. So next thing is to fit the alternator in. So for the alternator you have one hole here and one hole there, and this is pretty tight space, so you have to put the 2 bolts a bit of an angle and then twist it inside. That's how it goes inside. Let's see, it's a bit difficult because you do it with the left hand, and with one hand it's not too easy to fit inside, but let's see how this will go. There we go. Only at the bottom, not at the top. So there we go. That's fitted alright. And I've tried this 5 different times, so you have to kind of angle first the bolts and then put it in, otherwise it doesn't want to go. Next is to put the bottom pulley, the old bolt with the new pulley. That's a new pulley, and I'll try to inspect. Has any ripples, anything, looks okay. Put it in there, and then the top one may need to lift a bit the alternator to fit in the bolt. Yeah, that's inside. And then you tighten it, only slightly tighten it, not fully. It needs to be torqued. And of course the top pulley. And the top pulley there should be now enough space for the wrench. Not a wrench, but just a wrench. Oh, finally managed to put both the pulleys, and it's extremely tight in there. It's like tight as hell. Make sure that all the pulleys are rotating freely, they are not seized or anything. The tensioner pulley, the 2 other pulleys, the alternator as well is rotating fine, and now it's torquing those. Now to torque them, these pulleys, these bolts are 45 Newton meters, and this is the moment of truth to see if this short thing will survive 49 Newton meters. Well, let's see. I'm not too convinced, but well, it's easier to try it on the bottom one and braking, so I can take it out rather than on a different one. yeah, this actually survived 49 Newton meters. That's actually, it's quite a good one. So 45 Newton meters, and that's spinning. Next 45 Newton meters to the top one. And the top one, Newton meters. Top one as well. Now the bottom bolt, which is here, it's supposed to be tightened to 50 Newton meters, but everything else is in the way. So 50, everything else is in the way, so I have to do this by hand. That's extremely difficult, to be honest, to approximate 50 Newton meters, but I'll try that. That should be about 50, maybe a bit less. But what can you do? You cannot fit any torque wrench or anything in here to do anything, and the same for the upper bolt. So the upper bolt on the alternator is down there. This is the bolt down here, that is 50 Newton meters. Again, there is no way to put a torque wrench unless you remove half of the car, which includes the turbo, the exhaust and everything else, the bottom, otherwise this is way too much to remove. And that should be kind of 50, probably a little bit more, but not entirely clear about the 50. Next thing is to fit the belt. I don't think there's any technique how to fit in the belt. You put it underneath there and the other. So here is a picture of how it's put on my car without air conditioning, and you can find them online how to route it with or without air conditioning for different engines, but it's a simply to put it on. Okay, then here, then above that one the pulley will be here, so this needs to go on top of that pulley. This goes there, and this up there on the alternator. And then of course you need to be from top as well, just to do it as well. So fitting the belt is quite some effort. And you can see how it is. Well, from the graph you can see it probably better than from the camera here. Next is to pull the pin that I did at the beginning. The bolt you undo with a wrench and lift this tensioner down, and that should be, make sure that is all the way around fitting very nicely. New pulley here, new pulley there, new belt. I haven't replaced the tensioner, but it was replaced roughly about 3 years ago, so I'm not gonna replace the tensioner. So here is the bolt that you turn clockwise, and it will lift slightly. Then you can pull the pin from underneath here, and this will go down. Of course, it's quite tight in there, and you may need an extension of some sort to push that. There we go. And then you release only slightly, and that should put the tension on the belt. And it's pretty tight, this belt now. Again, you make sure everywhere that this is fitting correctly on top. Here on the pulleys, everywhere that's how you change. Next thing is to fit the positive on the alternator and make sure that these are all kind of connected. Now before doing the positive, which is down here, I sincerely doubt you can see it, I can put it in, make sure the battery is disconnected, but there is a cable clip down here that you need to click onto the alternator. I really don't think you can see it, is too many pipes, but it's that one down here. You just need to, there is a slot in there that you can kind of clip it in, just press it in, so this cable is not dangling, not touching the hot exhaust here. Next is to do the bolt for the positive for the alternator, and this is 16 Newton meters. First, of course, you put in the nut on top. It's a 13mm nut. Screw it down, and it's an extremely awkward angle, so I'll see how I can do the torque wrench. 16 Newton meters. It's a bit awkward. Let's see if that would work. Yeah, that would work. I can put the torque wrench in there. That's 16, and the positive is in there, and pretty much everything is done. Next, you need to plug in the plug for the alternator. It's a simple, just a simple plug. I don't think you can see anything from that, but it's down there. You just need to plug it in, and that's it, until it kind of clicks and it can't move. That's the plug for the controlling the alternator. The positive is there. Next is to fit the intercooler from underneath, and I've had the intercooler in my house like that, just to drain it from the oil that it had. I'm trying to take it out and not to spill too much. That's the intercooler, and yeah, it has quite a bit of oil, not too much, but probably 20-30 milliliters out of the engine, out of the intercooler, not the engine. So next, putting it from underneath. So from underneath, put it in there. Hopefully we'll be able to fit it in. Around there. Not to damage any of the fins. Just to go like that. Like up there. There we go. That should be about right. Next is to, you have a bolt, mine is way too tight. You have something like this which you have to slot inside like that. You have to slot it in there. Slot it in there and fit it inside the hole there. And then put in I have a washer, and you have a nut, but I don't have a nut. I have something to, because I have broken the bolt, so I have something that is kind of protruding inside and turning it, and I have to use pliers in order to turn that to secure it. But that's about it. That's the intercooler fitted. For pliers, you have a nut that you tighten in there, and next these two sleeves that go on here. And the first sleeve, and because I don't want the metal to dig in the rubber, I have these from a hose that I've put in there, so I'll slot it inside like that, just not to dig in, and I'll put that one in. Well, let's see how this will go. I think it has to be that direction, so the bolts are that direction, so I can put them in. They are rather awkward to put inside, so this is on, and from the bottom it's on as well. Next is to tighten these bolts, and that's a 7mm. It's just easier than a screwdriver. Maybe use a screwdriver as well. And of course the right one, you put that one on here like that, and of course tighten it. Next is the turbo resonator pipe, or the turbo pipe, or whatever it's called. I'll remove my aluminium thing where no dirt, to not allow any dirt. I have the bolt in here just to not to lose it somewhere. So simply you slot it in like that, push it in here, and then slightly rotate it while holding here, slightly rotate it downwards. You have to kind of peel the rubber here so it goes inside. And then you click it. There is a click here, so you just press down here and there you go, it clicked. This is the rubber has gone in there. So I need to tie that piece here, and I think that one I can do with the screwdriver, so it's kind of easy, at least at the beginning. Next is that bolt here that goes underneath, that you need to tighten. So the turbo bolt on the sleeve, this plastic sleeve here, is 5 Newton meters, and I have a torque ring that just about fits in there, like that. That's 5 Newton meters. It doesn't do that much, it just holds it on, that's why it's only 5 Newton meters. Of course, fitting your top tray down here. Make sure that all the pipes are nice and secure, haven't missed anything else. Next thing is to fit in the plastic around the wheel, the plastic liner around the wheel, put the wheel on. So you connect the battery, the positive, and I have this cardboard box here to prevent the positive getting on. Make sure that you have nothing opened in the car before doing that, nothing switched on, nothing opened. You put it on, clip it. My car is clipped, but yours might be with a bolt or something that you need to screw, so you put that one in. So then you flick the side lights from the opening. I've half opened it, but you can lift it to the bottom. Then you flick it from there, but you flick only the side lights, and then the full beams, and then you switch them off both. And this will reset your board computer so it starts up nicely rather than being hard booted and so on, having some errors, and that's the correct procedure. Then you can, of course, start the car and see if the alternators are producing 14.5, 14.3 volts or thereabouts, between 14 and 14.5 volts. Let's see how this will work on my car, whether the change of the alternator has been successful. And this is how you replace the alternator in a 1.6 HDI Peugeot Partner, but in a 1.6 HDI engine in general. All the components that I've used and down below in the description of the video if you want to check them out. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Hopefully you find it useful. If you have any comments or any suggestions or any questions, let me know down below. Thank you very much indeed.